the McEneaney team.
Hi to everyone who just joined us. We're going to wait a few more minutes to let more people join our discussion, and we'll get started shortly.
Cindi, before we joined, I was thinking about your show at PAFA in 2010, 11 years ago.
Unbelievable.
That was such a great show.
It was great. It was great. Everybody was really happy about it. It was a good for everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Jane
Yeah.
Irish. Oops. Start video. Hello. I went to
Jane.
Jane's here. Hi, Jane.
I caught the last day of Jane's fabulous show at Locks today.
Oh,
It's done.
There's
Thank,
Bob.
thank you for saying fabulous.
It is fabulous. The work is great. There's Miss Leventhal.
John grew his hair. Hey, there's John. I saw John Mosey today too.
What?
Hi, everybody. My name's Kathy. I don't know you guys, but I'm happy to be included.
thanks for coming.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm in the Philly area. Are you guys outside of Philly?
Oh.
Hey.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
We're over in Vaughan, Washington.
All right. 3 hours difference away.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, great to see everyone.
So we're going to wait a few more minutes to let more people into our discussion, and then we'll go ahead and get started. And if you want to go ahead and mute yourself, that will be great.
Studio, I mean, someone named Sarah McTague.
Great. Let's see, still letting in some people, so we'll wait just a minute or two.
Hi, everybody. Sarah, Bonnie, Phoebe, Dick. Cindi, where's Cindi? I lost her. Hi, Jane.
So we're just waiting and letting in more people. Everyone's coming in to join our discussion, and I'll get started, and I'll just give it a few more minutes.
When Sarah had the show at the ICA, I went to the opening. My boyfriend said he hadn't seen as many people since the Beatles came to America. So that's probably
Sarah,
what happened here.
Sarah, what year was your ICA show?
2004.
No. If you'd said 2011, I would have been fine. Yeah.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Ira.
Hi.
Great. All right. So I'm going to ask if everyone can mute themselves. And if you're not already muted, and I think we'll go ahead and get started. I'm sure we'll have a few more people joining in. And so I'll be letting them in as I kind of go through my introduction here. But good evening, and thank you for joining us for our first virtual studio visit with Second State Press. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jen McTague, and I'm the co-founding executive director of Second State Press. And I want to just let you know about a few exciting events coming up at Second State Press. For those of you who are not familiar with Second State Press, I know some of you are from outside of the Philadelphia area. We're located in the South Kensington neighborhood in Philadelphia on North American Street. So upcoming at Second State Press, we have some really incredible classes coming up in person. And so I encourage you to check that out. One that might be of interest to this group in particular is on Saturday, April 10th, we have a class called Printmaking for Painters. And that's going to be taught by Todd Stong, who's an incredible artist and really a fun teacher. We also have an exhibition coming up in April, along with a print sale for our member print exchange. And also the CRE fellowship deadline is coming up on May 22nd. And that awards an artist unlimited studio access for a month in the summertime. And there is more information on our website about that. But tonight we are honored to be kicking off this new series, our virtual studio series, with two incredible Philadelphia powerhouses, Cindi Ettinger and Sarah McEneaney. Cindi is the founder of Ettinger Studio and has been a master printer for over 4 decades. Cindi has worked with dozens of prominent artists to create incredible prints with a focus on intaglio and relief printmaking techniques. And Cindi is an artist herself and also a longtime supporter of Second State Press. And Sarah McEneaney is one of Philadelphia's best known artists and community activists. And her paintings and prints focus on daily scenes from her home, studio, travels, and her neighborhood. Her work has been exhibited widely, and she has received numerous grants, awards, residencies, and fellowship. Tonight, Cindi and Sarah will share their 35-year history of collaboration of making prints. And we are also joined tonight by Second State Press board member, John Caperton, who will help moderate our discussion. I want to let everyone know that tonight's discussion is being recorded and it will be made available at a later date on our website. The chat will be open and we will be sharing links and resources there. And I will be turning it over to John, who will kick things off. But one thing, we'll open it up for further discussion from the audience after the discussion between Cindi and Sarah. So please remain muted until that time. And you're welcome to put questions in the chat for us to discuss later as well. So I'm going to turn it over to you, John, Cindi, and Sarah. And
Thanks,
thank you again.
So again, I'm John Caperton. I've known Sarah for a long time, and I've known Cindi for close to probably a dozen years. I got to know her. I worked for many years at the Print Center here in Philadelphia and got to know her there, and found out that Cindi and Sarah had collaborated for so long, and we thought it would be fun to hear the two of them talk tonight. And my job is I'm going to throw out some questions, and I'm also going to help run a PowerPoint with some images of work. And Cindi and Sarah, just let me know how you want me to move forward with that, or backwards, or whatever. But I thought it'd be fun to first off ask you two to talk about how did you end up in Philadelphia? How did you end up knowing each other? And how did you end up collaborating?
Who do you want to go first?
Why don't you go first, Cindi?
I ended up moving to Philadelphia to go to art school. I went to Philadelphia College of Art. I was a painting major, and I took an adjunct printmaking class in etching, and that was it. I became a printmaking major. And I met Sarah not that long after I moved to Philadelphia, a few years later, from living in Old City. We both were neighbors. I think that was where we first met. Right, Sarah?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And well, Sarah, how did you get here?
I too came to Philadelphia for art school. I went first to Philadelphia College of Art, now the University of the Arts, and then I switched over to the Pennsylvania Academy, PAFA, now known as PAFA. And while I was always a painter, I'm still a painter. And while at PAFA, I think I made one litho on a stone and one silk screen, but I had never made an etching until I met Cindi. So we were friends, we were neighbors, and Cindi was starting up her press, I guess, around that time. And, she said, let's make a print. And we just started very simply. She'd send me home with like a tray and some acid and the plate with ground on it. And I, draw the lines and etch it and take it back there, and she'd proof it, and we'd go back and forth. That's kind of how we started. So,
but Cindi, this was like before you had your space in Old City, right? Or
yeah, originally after I graduated from college, I set up a studio in New York with a classmate from Philadelphia College of Art. And we were mostly printers. We didn't really make plates with people. We just were printers for other printmakers. And it was really intense because it was just a lot of work, and I wasn't convinced that that's what I wanted to do. So I moved back to Philadelphia for 1,000,001 reasons, and I didn't plan on setting up another print shop, but it kind of, one thing led to another. I got a job from a teacher from Philadelphia College of Art printing a book for Jimmy Carter, President Carter. And so I bought a press, and one thing led to another, but I didn't really know that many artists in Philly at the time, because most of my classmates just moved to New York or left. So a lot of the artists that were here lived in certain areas and knew each other. And so when I started, I had this press I set up, and I wasn't fully committed, I would say. I was kind of still not sure this is what I wasn't sure what I was doing. And so the few artists that I knew who wanted to make prints, I was just making prints with them. And Sarah was one of the first.
Well, maybe we can turn it over to, let me share my screen, and let's look at some of the work. So I think to say two things about these early prints. One is, this print is 1985, and it's instantly recognizable as a Sarah McEneaney, which I think is amazing. That Sarah, this was not recent work, and you can immediately tell that it's yours. And the other thing I would say is, and Jen can back me up on this, that I think when a lot of people who know about printmaking think about Cindi Ettinger, they think of her as this incredible master printer, which she is. But you look at this early work, and it's apparent that you were learning as you were going, or you were figuring out how to work with people as you're going. I mean, can you respond to that some, Cindi?
Yeah, you know, up until that point, most of the artists just gave me finished plates for me to print. So I had to teach myself how to collaborate and work one-on-one with everybody. And one of the things I love about this print in particular is how it's like this little time capsule, you know, of 1985 or whatever year it is. You could see, you know, Grace Jones' album and the little TV set, and just there's little things in there that tell you about the era. And all of her prints do that in one way or another.
And I'm drinking a Diet Cola this day.
Yeah, and she was
I would never drink that. I don't know why I ever drink that. But I still get the Philadelphia Inquirer delivered every day, but it's not as good a paper as it used to be.
No.
So Sarah, I mean, you obviously, your work, you were primarily painting at this time, and yeah. And were you working like in egg tempera at this point?
I think this was shortly before I started the egg tempera. So yeah, so I was, you know, in school, I was an oil painter, but I was struggling with how long it took to dry. I tried acrylic back in the 80s and didn't like the plasticness of it. So I was doing a lot of gouache on paper paintings. So it might have been sort of when I started these around the time of the gouache paintings.
Okay.
Started the egg tempera, I think, kind of in the late 80s, yeah.
So let's go to the next one. Another amazing print. Looks like this is 1987. And in this one, I think you, if our audience can't see, pets are very important to Sarah to this day. And some are joining us tonight, I think.
Yeah, also one of the other interesting things about these prints are they're real prints. You know, today, a lot of people you don't feel somebody's hand in the prints quite as much as you do in these prints. They're really, you know, they're really kind of great in that way that she really worked the plate and tried different techniques. And there's, you know, I didn't have an aquatint box. I didn't have photo techniques. It was just figuring out ways for her to get the marks and the tones just in a very primitive way.
Yeah, and in fact, I often would overwork prints, and Cindi taught me how to like take, and I would, with a scraper, I'd have to scrape it back down closer to a smooth plate, like some of the floors like that around that boxer dog, and maybe the ceiling too. I would get carried away and go too far, and then I have to remove. So like Cindi says, I really worked them.
But it's what makes them so great.
Okay, so here's evidence of the work being made, but and a really early print with color here.
Yeah.
Which this is a foreshadowing of where we're headed, but is this applied by hand? Is this?
Yeah, this is a technique called a la poupée, where you put all the color on one plate. And although everyone thinks that's one of Sarah's dogs in the print, it was actually mine. And that was the view I had from my studio at the time, which at the time was a big field and is now a ramp to I-95. So that also is an interesting time capsule.
You can see one of the structures for the ramp at
right
the top of the door there.
Right.
And that was our de facto dog park.
Right.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And so basically, Sarah, your participation in this were you printing the edition after you?
Oh no, Cindi does all the printing.
So you never, okay.
I make
Sarah just make the plates.
Under her guidance, yeah.
Gotcha.
She's the master printer.
Even back then.
Oh yeah.
Sarah was the artist.
So
yeah,
this
one, also all the color was put on one plate.
And Cindi, I think you said this is a way you would never work anymore, right?
Correct.
And why is that?
Well, it's, you know, I should never say never, but it is, for me now, so much easier to make color separation on different plates and to print consistently. It's hard to do that with these little everything on one plate. It's not so easy to do.
And did you say this is related to the way that Mary Cassatt was making prints?
Yeah, yeah.
It's so beautiful. Okay, so I hope I've done this right. I probably have not, but you guys, do you want to talk about this print and how it was made?
So this is called Travels with Daisy, and it's a record of a cross-country road trip with my dog Daisy. And again, it's a time capsule. There's I'm using a map, an actual map to find my way. And there's tapes. I had a tape deck, and there's tapes, a box of tapes, and a Pep Boys coffee cup. But so this is just the image in black ink, and then doing watercolor or gouache on top to try out different colors. And that's what we have, a few of those before the a la poupée color version. Oh, that's the font.
Okay, so we'll come back to that one. How about?
That's another, the sunburned Farmer Chan.
But this is the same print printed in blue, and then.
Well, yeah, actually, it does look like it's printed in blue and then other colors painted on to try it out. Right. Another try. That one looks like it has more ink on it, maybe, Cindi.
Yeah, I think we were trying different, what was going to be the base color of the print, and then you would do hand coloring on top of it until we came to the final version.
Right.
And this is the final version, is that right?
Yeah. Right.
But again, all printed with one plate?
Right.
Wow.
And I saw that Ira noticed the mileage. And I think it was a decimal point missing what you typed in, Ira, because I think it showed the whole mileage of my trip back and forth that summer, which was like 10,000 something miles. Mostly I try to stay on small roads, not highways.
So another early print. Okay, and now we're sort of jumping ahead in time and also looking at a different process. I mean, a different process of building up the color. Is that right, Cindi?
Right. This is the first time Sarah made a print with me where we actually used different plates for the color. So it is 4 plates, and there were 2 blue plates and a yellow and a red plate. And I'll tell the story. After Sarah and I finished all the plates, she said, I think I want to put a cat in there. So we had to go back and put the cat in on all 4 plates.
Cindi, you don't
all
have
4 colors to get the black cat.
Right, right.
Cindi, you don't have any of the proofs handy, do you?
I do. Let me just grab them.
So people, I was just thinking people would see the scale of what.
She has the color separations. That's what she's doing.
So here's, I can't see myself, so I can't
A
really.
little bit higher, just a little bit higher. There you go. That's
Yeah,
better.
here's the red,
Uh-huh.
and then here's the yellow.
We can't see you.
Can you see it?
Oh, there you go. Lift it up a little higher again. That one's hard to see, the yellow.
Yeah. Should I come closer?
No, that's good enough. I think you just got, because there's no yellow in the water.
And then the 2 blues. Here's one blue. Can you see?
Yeah.
And then the last one is here. And yeah, there's
I
the
forgot
last.
that there were 2 blues.
Yeah, there were 2.
Oh, yeah.
So Sarah, can you describe how you were doing this? Like in terms of, like, so there are 4 plates, so you're starting with nothing on each plate, but how are you doing the separations?
Start with basically a line drawing that you can see, sometimes I keep it fairly faint. And we probably did the yellow first, and then the red, and then the blues. That's what I would remember. Cindy might.
Actually think you started with the red and the yellow.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I don't know which was first,
Uh-huh.
but
But Cindy would, so she printed the red, which probably had the outline, and then before she wiped down that plate, after she printed it, just the red, then she would put a ghost print on another plate. And then I would see, okay, there's where the red is. Where do I need to make yellow? And then I would work on that plate according to where yellow needed to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay. And then she would print the two colors on the next one.
Yeah, and then the next time you do the ghost, yeah, it has two, yeah,
Wow.
the next one.
Oops. Sorry.
Bozeman, Montana.
yeah.
You tell 'em.
This one started out as a black and white print. Sarah was supposed to do a simple one plate black and white print, and it just really wasn't working. And I told her she's got to use color, and it ended up being 2 plates. Still pretty simple, but really successful. Much better than black.
Yeah, this one I was making to raise funds for paying for part of the ICA catalog. So maybe that's why we tried to keep it simple.
Right. That was it.
But I really remember too, like this is Hot Springs in Montana, and I was there with Phoebe Toland, who's here on this call, and another friend of hers. And but I just put myself in the etching. There is a painting where she's in there too. But the steam coming off the water, that was done by scraping away some of what had been etched.
Wow. It's so beautiful.
Oh, maybe the sky. Oh yeah, that was Brillo, maybe the sky.
Yeah, sandpaper or steel wool,
Yeah.
not Brillo.
This isn't the best image, but this is sort of this is going to be the most complicated print you guys have worked on. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you want to walk us
Sarah showed me the image that she wanted to do, and I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but she didn't really realize how hard it was going to be, but she kept going and she made it work. It was hard to get that shower curtain translucent, and with the flowers and everything. It was a tough one.
That one had a lot of scraping too, and it was based on a painting, and it's pretty, the composition and the animal and me and all that is pretty straight from the painting, but then of course it looks totally different because it's an etching.
Right.
So amazing. And this one's totally different process. No, finally not the same process.
Well, this one is a woodcut, and it's very large. What is it, 24-inch?
No, each section is 48 by 48, I believe, isn't it? It was part of when Philographica did that big steamroll plant on Spruce Street, steamroll print, and everybody was invited for a 4x4 square or 2 or 3,
Right.
And we all came and laid our squares down on the street, and a steamroller and a giant cloth. But then I had these plates that I had made, and I said to Cindi, I want to do something with these. Yeah, I can print them. And we figured out, and the background is
Digital.
yeah, but I made a painting, and then it was printed digitally. What I had painted was photographed and printed digitally, and then Cindi printed the wood cut on top of that.
I mean, I didn't remember the digital background on this, but I think that this is a good point to talk about. Cindi is the processes that she's engaged with are quite traditional,
Right.
but you're very open to collaboration in kind of any direction, it feels like.
Well, as you can see from, as Sarah was evolving as a printmaker, so was I. Nothing is static. Yeah, the printmaking is evolving, and so it's hard to just stick to being completely traditional. Like, you have a choice, right? To just keep doing things one way and not not taking advantage of all the technology today. And it took me a while to cross over to that place where I was willing to do that. But Silicon, what did they call it? Silicon, was it Gallery? Silicon Gallery?
Silicon Art Gallery. Yeah.
Yeah, Rick at Silicon really wanted to collaborate with me. He really wanted me to figure out a way to work with him. And we did do a bunch of things together that came out great, and I would have never done that. And once I did that, it opened me up to doing whatever after that.
But at the same time, Cindi, I remember talking to you one time and you were getting into letterpress, and I asked you why you were doing that, and you were like, well, because I can't find anybody to do it the way I want them to do it. So it's like you're willing to embrace the digital, but you're also willing to take on these other, very difficult processes.
So basically, I'm a control freak, is basically what you're saying.
And I have to correct myself. You were right, Cindi. Each panel is 2 by 2 feet, so the whole thing is 2 by 4.
Right.
I was
Right.
wrong. I'm looking
Still
at
pretty big.
And this is another digital and intaglio print. Is that right?
correct.
Yeah.
It's Sarah's floor.
My
Right.
studio floor. And then I took a photograph of my studio floor, but then I worked with one of the women who worked at Silicon, and we messed around with it in the computer. And I would say, oh, could you tweak this, or could you make that punchier or make that pinker? And she reworked it until we liked it. And then again, that was printed out. And then I took all those over to Cindi, and she put the intaglio on top. And that was part of a portfolio that was organized by Rocky Toner, right? Ray Marquet. Was when there was a printmaking, annual printmaking convention or something in Philly.
Conference.
Yeah, conference, right.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. And I have only one last question, which is sort of going in a totally different direction. But I was thinking, Jen and I were thinking with this series that one thing we would want to talk about with artists as we go into their studio is, what have you been up to during the pandemic? And has it been a creative, productive time or not? So Cindi, do you want to go first? What have you been up to?
Well, when the pandemic first happened, a lot of the jobs that I had were just put on hold. Everything just kind of stopped. And at first, for a while there, I thought I was going to be retired, and that was how I would end my career. And for a couple of weeks, I was really happy about that. It was really nice to I felt incredibly free. But then I realized I just was miserable, that I really didn't want to stop going to the studio. And so I went to the studio in the beginning and just kind of went through my drawers and started looking through everything. And before you knew it, I was just doing my own work, which I had done always, but never did I have so much time to just do a deep dive. So it was great for me. I just couldn't wait to get to the studio every day and work on what I was doing. So it was good for me.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about what you've been working on of your own?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of collage, and part of it came because somebody gave me a book of old Philadelphia maps, and I had some old books. I'm really into typography and letterpress, and so I just started to. You want me to show you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I took old prints that I had. Here's an old etching, a dry point, and I started collaging. This is just one example. It evolved, and then I just started playing with the collage and letterpress and type and books, and it kind of went to this. And then I started doing monoprints, and kind of evolved to this sort of thing.
So Cindi, are you using a press to put these together?
I use letterpress. Yeah. I couldn't make them if I didn't have the press, but they're not really that printmakerly, but And this one's just a collage that's strictly from some of the Philadelphia maps that I
That's
had.
beautiful.
And then it kind of started to evolve into a combination. Like even in something like this, the red is printed. I printed that on there. So I would make these collages and then I would print on them. And, you know, I feel like a lot of artists in Philadelphia, I have drawers full of paper, prints and stuff that I don't know what to do with. But I really have been having a great time because it's been a while.
And in terms of your studio, you have done at least a couple exhibitions recently, right?
Of what?
Oh, you did the exhibition with Ryan Parker, right?
Yeah, I did do, you know, a year ago, I was supposed to have an exhibition for Daniel Heyman of this project we had been working on for over a year. And it was an 8-foot by 8-foot woodcut. And we just, you know, he sent this thing to Japan and had it made into scrolls and we got it back. We hung the show. And March 14th, I think, was the opening. And we shut down. We never had the opening. We never never exhibited it here. And I really am not comfortable having, you know, any kind of receptions or anything. And so I haven't really had any shows except for Ryan Parker's show because his was mostly digital, you know, a video. And so, very few people actually saw it in person, but it was still, you know, we still had some sales and it was good, but I'm not going to have any shows for a while.
Okay. So Sarah, what have you been up to? Your studio looks packed.
Yeah, you know, I'm always working on something in the studio. And I think at the beginning of the pandemic, first I thought, oh, this will be over in 2 weeks. And then of course it sunk in that it was going to be a really long stretch. And I think I had a little time period of feeling like, what am I doing? You know, and I'm being distracted and yet I couldn't go anywhere. But I settled into a groove and, you know, and I have been working a lot. And, you know, my same kind of work, like of, you know, my world, my studio, my home, my yard. That one back there, you can kind of see is like a nighttime social distance burn can, you know, became the norm. I just wanted to bring up, it started around 2017 when I was doing all those former president iterations that I actually showed at the print center, a bunch of them. I don't even like to say his name. And, but in order to incorporate those into a painting, which I wanted to do, but I didn't want to repaint them, you know, because they were sort of awful. I made little tiny printouts and acted as if they were like, you know, push pin to the wall. And so that got me going on collaging my own work, previous work, other paintings into paintings, because I'm always painting my own paintings. And then that's expanded to sometimes actually painting an object bigger and then taking a photograph of it and shrinking it down and putting it into a painting so it gets this sort of keyed up detail, but it's still my hand. So all the paintings that I'm working on now, they're all, you know, I'm now become an acrylic on wood painter, but they all have elements of collage in them as well. So there's collage in the air.
Collage is in the air, yeah. Well, Jen, what should we do? Should we try to ask people to ask questions with their mics through the chat, or what do you think? This is our first one, folks.
Yeah, I think let's open it up. We'll see, you know, if somebody wants to ask a question, you can go ahead, and if somebody else is talking, you can just kind of queue up in the chat to speak next. Who wants to kick it off?
Don't be shy.
I miss you guys so much.
Oh, hey, Janet.
It's like, oh my gosh, I wish I was still there to work with you, to see you. And I'm really happy that you're doing this.
Oh, thank you. I see you've been busy though.
Yeah, well, you have to do something, right?
Right.
Miserable in bed. Right. but yeah, well, I love your collages.
It's great to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank
And it's fun. I'll shut up now. Next.
Sarah, we have a request to see.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that. I'm really bad at this. Oh, and then here's the cat in the chair. He wants to be part of the scene
Oh.
in front of the painting. I can slide him out of the way. If you all want to ask another question while I try to figure this out, that's good too.
I see Corinne has their hand raised. If you want to unmute yourself.
Thank you. Sarah, could you talk about your shift? I think that's what I heard, from tempera to acrylic.
Sure. I worked in egg tempera. I went to that, like I said, I think before, I wanted to work with water-based paint and I wanted to dry quickly. And as soon as I tried egg tempera, this was probably in the late 80s, I liked the sort of matte, velvety finish of it. I thought it was too much trouble to make my own, but I got a great tutorial from Jane Irish, who's here on the call. I was using a store-made, a factory-made egg tempera, but Jane showed me how to do the egg separation, and she got me going on making my own, which I did for years and years.
Wait, so Jane Irish taught you how to make egg tempera in the 1980s or something?
Yeah.
Philly is a small town.
Eventually, as my work got bigger, I found it was the egg tempera for me was getting problematic. And I thought, let me try acrylic again, because I started seeing acrylic paintings that I loved the look of them. And I thought, and I think the mediums are much better than they were in the 80s, in the early 80s. So now I basically make my own paints. I buy matte medium. I still have so many pigments. The pigments last forever, and I buy more pigments still rather than buying actual paint. Still, I'm making my own paint, but with matte medium. And also that's perfect for the collage, because I just use the matte medium to put the collages down.
We've got a good question in the chat, and it says, Cindi and Sarah, did you know right away you'd be such good collaborators?
I don't know. What do you think, Cindi?
We had fun.
Yeah, we did. Like sometimes we'd be making prints and then we'd go out to the bars after.
Right.
This was the 80s,
It was really great for me to work with peers, because when in New York, when I was printing, it was a whole different vibe. And it was really great to come to Philadelphia and work with people who were my age or close to my age. And it was great, and we learned together. I mean, it was a really primitive studio in the beginning, I didn't know we'd be such good collaborators, but it didn't take long to figure it out.
Cindy's she knows what she's doing, and she's very direct, and she'll let you know when you're doing something wrong. She's not gonna coddle you in any way.
Yeah, and again, it seems like, Cindi, it's like you strike this balance between know-how and keeping things on track, but then you're very open to like curveballs, it seems like.
Well, I like problem solving. I mean, I think that's what printmaking is really about. It's problem solving. And sometimes I'll be in the studio working with someone, and I really don't know how to get what they want. And in the middle of the night, when I wake up in the night, it'll hit me, and I can't wait to get to the studio to try these new things. It's like a game for me in a way.
Yeah.
I see Serena, you have your hand raised.
Hey everybody, it's really good to see you all.
Serena, tell us where you are.
I'm in Sicily. I've been here since September, and I'm teaching remotely, so I'm extremely privileged. But it's midnight here, but it's so great to see you all. But as I was raising my hand, I see that someone in the chat also is asking the same question that I was about to propose, which I think Terry wanted to know too. Sarah After working with Cindi in etching and a variety of printmaking techniques, what kind of changes did you see when you went back to the canvas or panel, painting directly? Were there things that you take away from etching that somehow come into play when you're building and composing through painting?
Yeah, I think there must be. I mean, the two things that come to mind immediately are transparencies, and I always have liked to layer a lot of paint over, and then just the use of really good lines. And I'll use my etching needle. Sometimes to scratch into paintings, or my etching needle is with my brushes on my palette table.
Okay, any other questions?
There's Phoebe Tolan.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, good. So my question, I was just attempting to type it in, but I was curious to know when you might think you'd be able to collaborate again, and if you have any projects in mind.
Well, I think, Sarah and I have done a bath, a hot tub, or a hot spring, and a shower. And I think we're due for either rain or some other water thing. I think that would be a good idea. Don't you think, Sarah?
Yeah, I love, of course, I love water and bathing and weather. I like weather a lot. And I have been wanting to work again with Cindi, and especially since she moved to her newer, more deluxe, large studio, and the fact that she has letterpress too. Maybe I can figure out how letterpress could work, but we have to just figure it out. And
Yeah,
at this
we
point,
should.
yeah. Because now I think we're both fully vaccinated.
Well, I'm half vaccinated. Soon.
But yeah, and I would like to definitely.
Great. We look forward to it.
There's another question in the chat that says, did many of your printed image begin as paintings that were then translated to the plate?
Pretty much, well, not all of them, but the shower one, the Bozeman hot spring, those started out as paintings, and I sort of used the paintings as jumping off points for the prints. But that's the same way I make my paintings too. It's like every painting relates to a previous painting almost. The early ones were just direct observation, like that one where I'm sitting at my table with the newspaper and the little black and white TV and all that. I just, looking, you can see my hand there, and it's a left hand because of, but, and by doing Cindi's studio with her printing, it was when I started spending so much time in the studio, I just started drawing in there, and then.
Right, and also.
Actually, I made a painting of you.
That's what I was going to say. If you go to my Facebook page, I think Sarah's painting of me in the studio is my, it's my, whatever, my picture.
Yeah. So definitely everything's feeding off each other.
I have a question relating to that. Cindi, did you ever hope to be in a Sarah McEneaney painting, and did you try to do something theatrical or something so that you would be?
Well, I wasn't. She did do this painting of me printing her print, so I am. And it is really weird to be in one of her paintings, to walk into a gallery and see yourself in one of her paintings, and then to know it's hanging in somebody's home is also a little weird. Maybe I'll have to do something more theatrical for another one.
Yeah, I should start putting more other people back. Right now, it's all about internal.
Your animals.
Yeah, animals.
Well,
I have another question. The print with the floor is so beautiful with the black lines of all the pets. Is that a historical narrative, or is there a narrative between those?
Yeah, that one, it was the Women's SPCA clinic on Clearfield Avenue in North Philadelphia. It doesn't exist anymore, but that was my vet. And it had these built ceramic tile little cubicles that everyone would be in, and it had paintings on the wall of animals. And so I totally, you know, it really looked like that with the little window you went up to. And I literally went in there. I remember going in there with just the cat under my arm and 2 dogs on leashes, you know, and the cat wasn't in a box. And I just walking in there with this gang of animals. I loved that vet, and they closed. It was a great place. I took my dogs for obedience classes there. It was a great spot.
Wow. Well, are there any other questions? Oh, Katie Baldwin.
Hi.
Katie, do you want to unmute yourself and give your comment, or should I read it?
Oh, I can. I don't know how good my internet is. So
We
There
see
you are.
And Katie, tell us where you are.
oh, I'm in Taipei. I'm in Taiwan.
Wow.
Yeah.
What time is it there?
It's the morning. It's 6:47. I love you guys so much. I got up this but I just wanted to comment that I've been thinking about this kind of idea a lot lately, and I just love seeing the work over time, and just how it evolves as you evolve as an artist and a printer, you know, each of you, but still it's very much the same. And I just loved seeing that. So
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I see someone says, was there ever a print you started together but never finished for any reason? I don't recall.
No.
Yeah.
We finished them all.
We're both like driven to like. when she
Well, you
started-
know, I just say if you're, I really of the school where you just keep working till you get it. Just don't give up. You could just keep working.
You don't want to waste a plate and all that
Yeah.
ink and all that ground and all that time.
And yeah, there's usually something worth saving.
Right. Scrape it down and start over again.
Okay, one more question, and maybe this isn't the best idea to announce this, but we're hoping that our next studio visit will be with Serena, who had the question earlier. So hopefully we get to visit her studio in Sicily sometime soon.
Cool.
And we hope the weather will cooperate, that we
And
can.
then she won't have to do it at midnight.
Yeah, no, we have to do it when there's like beautiful Sicilian sunshine. I think we have to, even if we all have to get up early.
We'll have to be at midnight.
Yeah, I mean, you know, now that there's daylight savings time, finally, ours happened like 2 weeks after yours did. So we're finally in springtime zone. So, but yeah, I'm 6 hours ahead. So I'm flexible. We can figure it out.
Great. And we'll do it when
Good
Mount
morning.
Etna is not erupting.
Yeah, or when she is erupting, and maybe it's a little more interesting. Either way, it won't affect the studio visit. It's far, far away. Anyway, it's so great to see so many familiar faces, and thank you, Cindi and Sarah and Print Center and
Well,
Jen.
thanks for staying up.
I wouldn't miss it. I wouldn't miss it. Yeah, I'm gonna shut up now.
Thanks everybody for coming. It's great.
Thank you.
So many people I haven't seen in a year, you know.
Everybody.
And yes, thank you so much, Cindi and Sarah and John, for helping to moderate. And everyone keep your eye out on Second State Press social media for upcoming, for our next studio visit with Serena, and more information about all of the fun stuff happening at our studio.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Bye.